Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is P.U.S.H's kickoff party. P.U.S.H, which is people unwilling to sit on their haunches, devoted to promoting volunteerism and progressive, I can't even say a fucking thing, progressive activism on a local and a national level. The last of that sounds kind of arrogant, but there are people in P.U.S.H from Pennsylvania and Boston, Indiana, and etc., and the nature of the way it's set up. We encourage people from all over the country to join and to do whatever the fuck it is they want to do in their own little hometowns, bring their own friends in. I had to write some notes to myself because there are a bunch of stuff I wanted to say. I'll try and move through this expeditiously. And I wrote to myself, remind everybody that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Which is true. And I know you all know that. I'm totally making this up as I go along. I'm a paunchy, middle-aged, failing character actor, so fuck off.
Boo.
Wayne suggested at one of the living room meetings, and for those of you who may not know, this started because I started bringing some people into my living room to try and talk about, well, after this election, what the fuck do we do? And my initial notion was that in gathering together, we should identify our interests and our passions, and we should have a very loose umbrella organization to try and get people to push along their particular axis of interest, and that push would be an umbrella to bring folks together who could share those interests to comprise teams. Wayne very wisely said, why don't you start defining it by what it could be at its least? So that if anything happens after that, it'll be a nice surprise. He didn't put it quite like that. I eleganted it up a little bit. At its least, this is what I think P.U.S.H can be. Periodically, every month, we throw a fucking party. At that party, there is a charity, as there is today. That charity, for today, it's called the Marie Stopes International Foundation. It's a great charity. I'll let you discover it for yourself. So that at the least, those folks who want to come, progressives all, forgive me for those people who don't like that word, I have problems with it myself sometimes, but language is a slippery thing. Those folks who want to contribute to that charity can do so. So at the least, at every party held on a regular basis, something will have been done. Some money will be given to some good organization. And as you get to know each other, and as we get to know each other, and as we hopefully get to work with each other, without putting any formal strictures on it, we see what happens in a kind of a Bedford Fallsy, It's a Wonderful Life kind of way. Because who the fuck knows, you know? I mean, so-and-so meets so-and-so, and they start doing such and such. At its worst, maybe something arises. Maybe somebody says, hey, you know what I'm interested in? It's this. This started from a point of view of, I'm not a professional activist, I'm just an actor, and I'm interested in trying to bring folks together. What interests me is not in coming up with clear metrics and goals and objectives and rules and regulations. This is not a not-for-profit. I can't run a not-for-profit. One, I don't know what I'm doing. Two, I don't have that kind of time. This is more about kind of a weird dating service. In essence, I want you all to have kind of an intellectual fuckfest.
So we finally get it on,
Finally.
After all
we'll
these
talk
years.
later.
I'm willing to use the word cocksucker! My father was a gay sailor, so that was the first word I learned. I referenced the book to those of you who I had a chance to meet at some of the living room meetings, Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam, which is a book that has had a tremendous amount of importance to me. Robert Putnam's argument was we used to live in a world in which it was an expectation that we would be part of things. We would join the Masons or the Elks or the Shriners. We would be in a bowling league or a bridge club or the PTA. We'd run for city council. We'd do this, we'd do that. We live in a more atomized age now. So to a certain extent, P.U.S.H at its least, the idea of regularized parties and regularized social groups, to me has an importance that, even if nothing else happens, has significance. But I would also like to talk a bit about what I think P.U.S.H could evolve into, depending upon what you guys want, over the long arc of time. And I say the long arc of time because I took my time in getting this going. It's been about 4 or 5 months. It is a slow process, because even though I hope to God that fucking Donald Trump strokes out tomorrow, he probably isn't gonna, and we're gonna be stuck in this world for a long, long time. And you could argue, if you're a student of American history, that it's baked into our Constitution, that it's baked into the pie of what it is in America. There's always been a flank of America that is racist, and there's always been a flank of America that is fundamentally anti-progressive. The fight never stops. What I was interested in starting the group was in trying to encourage people to say, what if I just have to ask myself a little bit for the rest of my life, what is the thing that I can get most animated about, that I can give myself to more than I have heretofore? Not change my life, but give myself more to. Is it progressive politics? Is it environmentalism? Is it helping the homeless? Is it feeding the hungry? Is it tactical? Is it strategic? What I would like to try and do with P.U.S.H. is to encourage people to identify what it is that animates you, which fire you want to piss on. I wrote an 11-page fucking document, which I think even my wife didn't read.
I did! Jesus, it took me a long time.
And I wrote it mostly for myself, to try and articulate what it was I was wanting to get at. It's available if anybody wants to read it. Jen Kaplan, who is one of our co-administrators, can share it with you. It is a form of a conversation I was having with myself about what I think it means to say, you can't piss on every fire. We can't. We can't run around, all of us, saying, what is your fire? And who are the people that might want to piss on it with you? Right now there are about 70 members in the group. I'd like to grow it. There are about 600 members on Facebook. I'd like to grow it. I would like you all to feel like what you're encouraged to do is to say, how many people are, let's get together, let's meet, let's work. Here's the thing that kills it or makes it. If everybody hangs out and waits for the phone to ring, if everybody is a soldier and nobody's a general, then we'll be back to parties. Parties ain't bad. I'm happy for it to be that. If it's going to work, some people are going to have to say, as hard as it is, I'm going to lead a team. I'm interested in environmentalism, and there are 7 people on this list, 9 people on this list, who say they want to do that too. I'm going to call them. And I'm going to try and get together with those people. And it's not about reinventing the wheel. There are great organizations that are involved in wonderful things in every single area. Start by doing some research, call them, find out what they need, find out how you can help. Are they doing things that you can help support? Are there things that you think maybe you can do that aren't being done? But first and foremost, it's about saying that this group grows and that you're prepared to use the group and work the group, which is a challenge. I mean, we all have busy lives, we all have kids, and well, thank God we don't, but we all have.
Thank you all up, dear.
Yeah. But we have shit going on. This is not intended to be for people who are wanting to be 24/7 full-time activists. I think those people are already doing that. This is about people who are saying, I want to do more. And the only way I think we can make that happen is if you can consider a team-centric approach. And it is still hard. So I would love it if some people are prepared to step forward in certain areas, and I'm going to throw some people under the bus in a few minutes, to kind of maybe think about leading some of those teams and making the tough phone calls and saying, okay, well, that didn't work, that meeting didn't happen, so-and-so stood me up, oh well, onward, 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 and push through it. Because that's what makes it or breaks it. You got to push through it. You got to push through all the shit. And I know that everybody here probably knows that already, but for my purposes, and for the point of what I think this organization kind of would like to be, I want to emphasize it. If enough of us are prepared to kind of keep going in spite of the difficulties, and maybe it'll happen, you know? What we do, we then share. Promoting volunteerism and progressive activism is about actually saying whatever template you come up with, whatever ideas you come up with, whatever you're working on, how do we actually find a way to bring that to the bigger community? And this is where it gets a little tricky. There are a bunch of people, some who are not here, some who are, including my co-administrators, Jennifer and Marcia, who have some real tech savvy. What I would say is that what we need to do is we need to have a very loose infrastructure underneath me. People who know how to actually promote, how to use social media more effectively. That's going to take a little time to set up, but the idea would be that for whatever it is you're interested in doing, we find ways within P.U.S.H. to actually take it out via Twitter, via Facebook, via whatever social media is out there, as we continue to grow the group. That's a challenge, and it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time, so it's about patience. What I'd ask you to do is kind of bring me people. Bring me people to the Facebook page, bring me people to membership. This is where I kind of put people on the spot a little bit. There are some folks who've already suggested, for instance, that they would be willing and happy to throw parties. Jillian? And Sandy? And Sandy?
Sandy with an eye?
Sandy with an eye.
Yeah, all right.
And me. And anybody else who likes to
Jillian's
throw...
already thrown a party.
Pardon? Jillian's already thrown a party.
First party we went
Yeah.
to.
If there are some other people who are interested in throwing parties, who would be willing to commit to that, I think that's where it begins. It begins with a commitment to get together on a regular basis. There'll be new people. This represents about half of the folks who are involved, who made it today.
Can I point out that you explained to me that a part of this structure that I was not aware of, where everyone brings appetizers, and no one checks on how many people are bringing appetizers. No, but as an example of how it can be affordable, again, so it's not really stressful on a person too much hosting a party. Just make it loose with the idea. There's an idea behind it. I thought that was you structured that well. You snuck that in on me.
Here, here.
Very close.
So if there are some other folks who are interested in doing that, I love it if Jillian and Sandy and Bonnie can maybe get together and have a few words. That's the beginning of something. And now if you guys were willing to kind of reach out into the group and say how many people might be interested in throwing parties, that's the beginning of something. Can I ask how many people here who are specifically, and some of this I know already, are specifically interested in environmentalism? Guys, look around and look at. Would you guys talk to each other? Just look at each other and kind of grok each other. Because what I'm going to do after this, the first 2 hours was fun and games. This is kind of the meeting part. I'm going to ask some of you folks who are interested in environmentalism to chin wag a little bit. You're all in the Google group. If you're not, if you're interested in joining and becoming a member, great. See what happens out of this. This is very loose, you know? Some other things. Education. Yeah. Look around. Grok each other. Cool. I'm kind of talking about, this is on the basis of everybody has kind of given me their interests and their skills and their et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are the things that popped out the most. Parties, environment, education, food security. Food security. Boom, boom, 3, Bonnie, 4.
What is food security?
Food security is helping hungry people eat. It's finding a way to. There are so many incredible programs right now. But you know, nonetheless, 1 out of every 5 American children goes to bed hungry. Isn't that amazing?
And so food security, the term means that you don't. There are people who don't know where their next meal is. So the idea is to minimize that.
No, I'm more interested in
Everyone
feedback.
And the last one, and I kind of boiled it down. I kind of boiled it down to about 5 big things. But obviously, there are a lot of specific things that people are interested in that are a little more narrow. But for the importance of trying to kind of smush people together, which is kind of frankly my role. My job, I think, or the way I foresee my job, is to be a yenta, and a nudge, and a nag, and an irritant, and a pest, and a pain in the ass. And I forgive me, but I think that's something that you need. You know, otherwise it begins to dissipate. So my goal is to try and say, you guys talk.
I know.
What I would say is political reform. That covers a lot of fucking shit. And there are people who are doing indivisible, there are people who are doing redistricting, there are people who are doing all sorts of stuff. But for now, can I just say political reform? Could you put your hands up again?
Impeachment come under that?
That's the one I could narrow cast that, and some of what I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks is maybe trying to do that a little bit, you know, via the Google group and via emails and what have you. But for now, I think it's probably okay to say those 5 big areas seem to be things that kind of animate people. I would love it if you guys would just chin wag a little bit with yourselves, just to know that you know each other. Just to know that you're all in the group, that your information is on the Google group, that you're able and willing and interested in talking to each other. If the conversation today goes a little further than that, that's gravy. This is the last thing I'll say, and this is a technical thing, and then Wayne would like to speak, and I would also like to open it up to anybody else who would like to say anything about stuff they are doing right now. It is a challenge to try and figure out an organizational system by which a shitload of people can talk to each other. And I am not a tech guy, anybody who knows me. Marcia and Jen, would you guys come up for a second? Marcia and Jen have incredibly graciously said that they would help me co-administer Push. I really could not conceive of doing anything without them. In setting up a Google group, which was like, what the fuck is a Google group? Yeah. First I joined Facebook, which believe me, Anastasia helped me with that. That was like the day after the election is, fuck social media, fuck, I'm joining. The Google group is a way by which we can communicate with each other. It's where the database lives. I need all your information.
I'm gonna give it to you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't have my wife's information.
Numbers again, you said how many are on Facebook and how many are the thing?
They're about 600 on Facebook. They're a little under 70 in the membership.
Okay, we have 40 lines in the database.
So yeah,
That's not everybody.
that's not everybody. So if you're in the membership and you have not given us your information, and that's just how to contact you, what your interests are, what your skills are.
Was that on the 11-page manifesto?
No, it didn't happen yet.
Seriously? More info? Okay.
No, that little sheet was. So we have your info, Sandy.
Oh, so that is the
Yeah.
info, the question.
Yeah.
Can we do that this afternoon?
You can.
Yes.
And what I would say is the easiest thing to do would be just take a couple of minutes and just email it to robertson.marcia@gmail.com.
Look at you.
Or bdboing@gmail.com. It's a couple of lines, just to kind of give us a little bit of a head start.
Give it to
For those of us who are slow getting on our phones to write
Yeah.
this down,
We're here.
that would be,
Yes.
everyone get your phones before you communicate.
Before you leave, just drop the line.
Yes.
Robertson.Marcia, MARSHA, @gmail.com. Or bdboing, BOING. I just like to say boing. @gmail.com. If you would just send them your stuff, it'll go into the database. I know that it is an irritant to kind of like, oh, fucking Google group. You can jigger the settings so you don't get an email. You know, you can just kind of get a digest periodically. We can start a thread on the Google group that everybody doesn't have to participate in. You can go off the Google group and have your own conversations with 5 or 6 people working on a specific project. But there does need to be some kind of a closed group. So apologies, it ain't a perfect world. It's the best we could figure. As far as I'm concerned, there's not a person who's a member who isn't a co-administrator on some level. If you've got questions, issues, problems, I'm here. Call me, and you know, again, I'm making it up as I go along. And so is Marcia, and so is Jen. This is like, you know, these are the baby steps. I think that's kind of what I wanted to say. The charity for today is Marie Stopes International, which is next to Planned Parenthood, the world's largest provider of family planning services. They do perform abortions, so if you are opposed to that, I totally understand. Although I will say that every scientific study does reveal that when abortions are available, there are fewer abortions than when they are not available, so there you go. If you don't have a check, you can put some cash in, and I will write a check for the cash I get. I would love it if everybody would be willing to, put a buck in. And then I would announce to everybody after the party is what we raised, so that every time we do something, we do something. And, yeah, let me see if there's anything else I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, last thing, the other thing that I think is important, aside from bringing people to the Facebook page and maybe bringing people to the membership, the hard thing is as people start doing things, like Tommy Byer. Where are you, Tommy Byer? Tommy Byer made this wonderful, charming video basically saying, come and volunteer at Santé d'Or Cat Rescue Shelter, which is in here. Promoting that, putting that out, that's some of what it is that I think we should all just kind of say, we can take that on for each other. If you've got something that you would like those of us in the group to put out for you, don't be shy about asking.
The
Obviously,
silent auction.
the silent auction, Betsy Ferguson had a silent auction to raise money for her school. We all do it for each other on Facebook. This is a slightly higher level of commitment to that task. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to do it all the time. But if you wouldn't mind trying a little harder, that's one way to kind of support each other. That would be great. And I think that's it. That's all I have.